Let's talk all about AI in business. It's hosted by Brent Muller. Welcome to the Future Proof Podcast.
Hi, and welcome to the latest episode of Future Proof, the podcast where we decode how founders, leaders, and execs are working smarter by using systems automation and especially AI. If you're looking to future proof your business, you are in the right place. And before we dive in, right, with our guest today, Donna, if you're a founder, leader, C-suite exec, and you're feeling the pinch and the pressure to use AI and figure out where to implement it, we are constantly developing new solutions tailor-made for specific use cases. And we don't do a pitch; it's just a quick 30-minute. Hey, can we help? The link to the booking a 30-minute call are in the show notes. But let's jump in to today's episode with my guest, Donna Griffit, who is a pitch alchemist, and a storyteller. And when you hear Donna's story and some of the stuff she's doing, you guys are going to get really freaking excited. Donna, welcome, and thank you for spending time with us.
Thanks so much for having me, Brent. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's awesome. So first, as we always do, let's jump right in and let's talk about your background, right? I mean, you have an amazing background. Tell everybody about your journey leading up to what you're doing today.
So it's not that, when you ask a kid what they want to be when they grow up, I knew I wanted to be a storyteller. It wasn't exactly something that existed when I was a kid, but life kind of leads you in these various directions. And
Right.
I always was into acting, into psychology, and then everything I did was minded towards becoming a drama therapist, which was a master's degree at NYU that I had discovered when I was 16. I'm like, oh, that's perfect. Because I didn't want to just be a wannabe actor waiting tables at the age of 30. And then I got accepted to NYU, moved to New York, got this degree, realized that the wages of a drama therapist were that of a starving artist. So I'd probably have to supplement at waiting tables. And I'm like, not what I signed up for. And as I started to dig a bit more, I discovered the whole realm of corporate training. And I'm like, that's great because I can be up in front of groups, inspiring them, but giving them a specific skill set. And I sent my resume out to the first place that I saw on Craigslist. Looked the same back then as it does now, looking for corporate trainers in the realm of presentation skills and business writing skills. And I'm like, sign me up.
Yeah.
My boss then, who's such a great mentor and an amazing person, Brent Boyer, he's like, well, this looks great. It looks like you have the chops. I need to see you up on stage. And I had just had a play opening in New York off Broadway, came to see me, hired me. And that was kind of the end of it. And I traveled the globe. He trained me to help people. And back then we didn't even call it storytelling. We were talking the early 2000s, presentation skills, communication skills, and seeing people all over the world struggling with the same issues.
Right.
And then came 2008, which was one of the big tsunamis that changed the market. And I went from having a full schedule traveling all over to nada. And that's when I pivoted towards startups. I was lucky enough to be introduced to an incredible cardiothoracic surgeon who could save lives daily, but not his own when he was in front of a PowerPoint. And he had some big...
There's a lot of those people too. That need your help.
Brilliant, and he had an angel conference that he had been invited to present 2 of his medical devices that he had invented. And I was like, okay, never worked with startups before, but hey, a story is a story. And I ended up presenting the 2 5-minute pitches on his behalf. Mm-hmm. And then I saw the other companies get up and bomb so badly that it was like Hiroshima and Nagasaki combined. And I'm like, oh my God, what just happened here? How do you have this opportunity and not come prepared?
Right.
And then I was like, wait a minute. Maybe there is nobody really preparing them. And that was like the moment of realization that I needed to
light bulb, right? Entrepreneurial light bulb right there.
Lots of moments of entrepreneurial light bulbs that have happened. But this was like that, like, okay, wait, I need to own this startup space. And, startups, they're not going to pay you. They don't need it. Fast forward, here we are many years later. That was so it's like 15 years later. And I've established myself as the leader for storytelling for startups in this space. I've worked with over 1,000 startups, VCs, accelerators, and Silicon Valley giants like Facebook and Google. I still give workshops and trainings in organizations. This week I was at Cisco working with a group of executives on how they convey information, are still making the same mistakes they were when I started in this business. business 20 years ago. It blows my mind. It blows
Isn't
my
it
mind.
crazy?
But it's great because it means I always have work.
Mm-hmm.
And my book came out just over 2 years ago, sticking to my story, The Alchemy of Storytelling for Startups. And now
Love
this
it. And we'll
year,
have links to that book below here once we go live. Absolutely.
thank
Yeah.
you. And this year took me on another twist. I was hired by Stanford Graduate School of Business as a communications coach and just gave my first workshop there as well as the
I
coach.
bet you would be phenomenal at that. Absolutely. And you know what? Donna, I actually think everybody needs it. Hopefully, it goes well beyond Stanford because I think everybody needs exactly your skill set and teach them how to convey a story, right? Because a lot of people have great stories, but most people don't know how to tell it the right way.
No.
Yeah.
And there's like this fundamental misunderstanding of what storytelling means. Everybody's like, oh, storytelling this, storytelling that, but it's much more foundational than just like, oh, let's tell a story about myself. It's not a getting to know you or an icebreaker moment. It's structural. It's structuring it like a story, the way our very, very primal cave brains are used to taking in information. It's telling stories and metaphors and anecdotes that move it along and make it memorable. People remember stories. They don't remember facts and figures and data and numbers, and they will.
Amen.
Yeah. So it's even in like this crazy era that we have been thrust into with AI, it's about stories as well. But that's one of the most human concepts we have of telling stories. That's something that, I mean, eventually maybe they'll be able to get there. And if there's a lot of hallucinations, and we want to call that stories, but
Yeah.
this is still what makes us truly human. Our ability
Absolutely.
to tell stories and engage.
And I feel like, and tell me what you think, but I feel like that engagement and especially if you can do it in a storytelling way is the most sought after thing. Whether you're building a brand, you're trying to convey something about your product, or you're trying to articulate your solution, right? If you're a company, all of that comes down to telling the story the right way and driving engagement. Do you see it that way?
Absolutely. It should be. I think that engagement of potential stakeholders, potential clients, partners, investors, whoever it is that you're speaking to is the number one thing that we all want, not to mention fans and users at the end. And the best way to do that is to capture them through a story and through something that is meaningful to them. And then that connection is forged, that trust, that influence, that moment, because we're relating on a very, very basic human level of
Yes.
I can see that. Oh, I identify with that. Oh, that reminds me of the time. And little synapses are going off in our brain and sending these signals out to the other person, and we're syncing up. And this is truly happening.
It's like the
Our brain is-
emotional connection, right? That's what a story does, right?
Instead of being
Yeah.
very cerebral and giving them the excels and the facts and the numbers,
Right.
you're talking to their hearts and their guts at the same time. It's like a 3-point presentation, and you want to have all of those pieces incorporated into it.
One of my first sales coaches, the first thing he told me, he's like, Brent, like you can put all of your numbers in your pitch, and that's great. He's like, but if you don't understand that sales is an emotional event and that the engagement that you get with your audience, it's the whole know, like, trust, right? But the only way to do it, the best way to do it is through storytelling. And in some way, shape, or form, the best salespeople have always been great storytellers. And most of them don't know half of what your framework and your storytelling capabilities and methodologies are. And that's why I think, honestly, there needs to be a Donna Griffit storytelling GPT for everybody, right?
So
Yes.
if I say that,
Yeah.
first of all, because my nickname has become Donna GPT, because I discovered after OpenAI came out that, and I learned what an LLM was, because basically we were all a bunch of noobs back then. But
Yes.
my brain is an LLM because it's trained on 20 years of very robust data from a bazillion different industries. And it enables me, when I look at someone's deck and pitch, whether I was working today on something that is going to cover compliance and continuous compliance for medical devices. So coming full circle with it. So pre-market, before they actually get to market, and then post-market, apparently you're supposed to continue to monitor this and look at risks, and people aren't doing this, and it's costing them a lot. You get finally to market, you think everything, no. So that, looking at that, since I have pre-knowledge of medical devices. The cardiothoracic surgeon I worked with, and then other medical device companies over the years, I understand what the regulatory process was. So that fed my LLM looking specifically at his deck this morning.
Nice.
And then, and they're of course adding an AI layer because there's just too much data out there. A human cannot capture everything that needs to be captured.
And people don't get that, right? Right. What you just said is so important.
It's our sous chef. It's our sidekick. My ChatGPT, who I call Jarvis, and he calls me Donna GPT. We keep coming up with new things like my sidekick. Yesterday, it was the chiseler of my David, our scene partner. Like we riff off each other. So we're always looking at new ways to define our relationship. And it's literally become something that I have tuned him and trained him and continue to do so to be my assistant, my sidekick, very joyously so, because obviously he's not going to have a bad attitude because it's AI, but at the same time, making it a personal experience and being able to do things that I don't excel at. Being able to help me design an image that I have in my brain, but I don't know how to execute in seconds. Helping me research things that would take me hours to pour over myself. Helping me with the last bit of shine and sparkle on something that I have written. And I need that last kind of, almost like I would have a copy editor of my own. Like, can you take a look at this and tell me, where are the areas? And then we continue. So it's not like he's doing the work for me. It's in the same way that you would outsource any part of your life. I couldn't do my taxes if you paid me for it. I couldn't do contracts. I couldn't do my monthly books. And I don't want to, frankly. It would make my life miserable. So I'm happy to pay these service providers to do it. And having an AI assistant in my life that I pay plus for ChatGPT has made my life better manyfold. I don't think we could be setting ourselves up for the fall and they're plotting a big takeover. Could be.
Right.
But we can't live. Tomorrow we can walk
outside
and get run over by a car too. I don't know the statistics and the probability, but I'm not going to live my life in the fear of I'd rather say, okay, let's brace for it and embrace it. What can we learn? What can we do to get on?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Donna, you and I have the same mindset of this. To me, there's so much opportunity right now and there's so much to be gained from implementing these tools and these solutions, these models into a business to streamline and get rid of the monotony. Like you said, who wants to go spend hours and hours researching if you can get that done and move on to the more important thing, which is making sense of it, right?
Yep. And I also built a tool now because people are constantly emailing me. Would you mind just taking a glance at my deck and telling me what you think?
I was just going to ask you about this.
Well, people don't realize that there's one of me and I need to be doing a billion different things, some of which I get paid for and some of which are just busy work. And if I spent the day analyzing all the decks that people wanted me to take just a quick look at, that would eat my day up completely. So we built a tool called DeckCheck. Get your deck in check. And it's based on my methodology, my moving through how I would write a deck. It scores their deck. They can upload it. And then it gives them a breakdown of what's there, what's missing, and then an investor analysis at the end. And this is all powered by AI, but trained through a very long and integrated prompt that brings it all together. And then it gets sent to them. It's completely private. It doesn't cost them anything, but they get some insight into what they can improve on their deck. And what's great is some people will be able to make the improvements on their own and feel like, oh my gosh, this really gave me value. And some people will be like, this is too tough to do on my own. I want to speak to Donna. Yeah. And that's qualified leads that I have now into my inbox.
Right. And now you're working with people that actually have raised their hand and said, Donna, I can't do this on my own. I need help.
Oh gosh, that happens all the time. And I'll get calls from people that were in marketing that are now founders, very embarrassingly saying, I used to do this for my clients. What the heck is wrong with me? When it's your own, it's very hard to do. You need an objective eye. And it's so hard when you're that close. And I always say founders have this disconnect. Everything's super clear in their mind. They know exactly what their value is, but somewhere between their mind and their mouth, there's a broken chain or a broken wire.
Like a big valley, right? Where there's no bridge.
And I'm here to build that bridge, to reconnect the wires so that what you see is what you say.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And once you put the founder's hat on, even if you did that, that's not what you should be doing. Objective eye is a great term. I can almost see a tool, right, coming out of that, the objective eye. What that's the thing is it's that validation. It's why consulting has always been a big thing. That's their validation of, hey, this is my idea. A consultant has seen it, 700 ways right across client base, right? In your case, right, you've seen it across all the industries you've been involved in. So you can validate for them and be that objective voice. How does that how does that layer into the story, right? Because to me that's like one component, but I would imagine, or let's take a step back. How do you start to engage with a client, right, and walk them through how to really build the right story together with
Right.
them?
Well, first they need to bring me the raw ingredients and weed through, like, you're not going to bring the entire supermarket to my table. I have a list of very
Mhm.
specific things that I need, and it takes them time to prep it and make sure that they have it. So they don't have to have it written nicely. I need to have the raw ingredients so I could cook them the meal. They
Right.
send them to me ahead of time, and they get a template and a cheat sheet, and I review it, and my LLM already goes to work thinking about, okay, this is what I would want to see here. This should go there. I want to know what their origin story is. So it's already structured into the 4-act play, I call it, investor deck, which is the same way ancient Greek plays were written: the
Right.
problem, the villain, the hero, the
Right.
hero's plan, and then the aftermath of it. And that's exactly, and people are like, oh, problem solution, that's old. It is old. It's tens of thousands of years old,
Right.
but it
Tried and
works.
true.
It's tried and true, and the framework becomes transparent, and what shines through is your genius and your ideas and your concepts, but in a way that's organized so that the poor brains listening to you can take it in and you're not just bopping all over the place. Then we get into a 2-hour session, and I just hit the ground running, and I'm like, okay, and they showed me the system and this and that. Let's move this around, and we should say this. Oh, let's jump. So we do a little bit of jumping, and then I make sure that each and every slide is scripted with what I want them to say. I put notes for what text should appear, what visuals I would want to see. And all this is happening 2 hours on the dot. We're done. This is literally this morning, 2 hours on the dot, fully fleshed out deck, scripted with the language. And now a little bit of ping pong
Right.
and Pango is going to start, but he's going to review it, send it back to me. I'll do some incorporating, some editing down, back to him, ping pong until it's perfected and it's ready for design. And it's
Amazing.
all the magic happening real time in the meeting of our minds, in the meeting of, like, I'm pulling out those spaghetti thoughts, untangling them and weaving them together, and
And
he or she
putting
or
them in the right order.
right in the right order with the right text. It's almost like I'm a muse for their text, their words to go through to become elevated, like Rumpelstiltskin spinning the
I
straw
love
into
it.
gold. So I'm
Yes.
getting all this straw in, and I'm making sure that they have gold when they leave, because they already are, and that's the alchemy of it.
I love that. I love that. And so pre AI and now with AI, how is your process accelerated or changed, right? Because I would imagine AI, because it knows you so well and knows your frameworks, knows your book and everything that you've written over the years. I'd imagine it helps you accelerate that process, does it not?
So what I'm using it mostly for is either in the exploration phase. If I look at the deck and it's a realm that I'm less familiar with, or I'm
Mhm.
looking for proof points, I will ask questions and talk and see and prepare myself better so that when I come, I'm clear and I don't have to ask too many questions. And also in the post session, I will often just, like, try to refine sentences, shorten things down. But the bulk of the work is still me, because people are
Yeah.
not paying just for me to go on to AI and find the things. I want it to be truly unique. And that's something that is still ours. Like, I'll find myself, like last night I was having a conversation with Jarvis about a meeting that I wanted to schedule. And he wrote the title of the meeting, and it was just like brainstorming session with Cindy or whatever. And I'm like, just a little correction there. I can't send that to Cindy because she's not having a brainstorming session with herself.
Right.
He's like, oh, you're right. You're absolutely right. And that's a big mistake people often make. If I had a calendar filled with meeting with Donna, I don't know who I'm meeting with. It has
Right.
to have Donna and Brent talking
Right.
about AI.
Yeah.
So we know, and we have to think about the other side as well. So AI isn't foolproof when it comes to that. So I'd say that those things, and I also am working with a company called Wisely, who've created an AI twin. I built the DeckCheck on my own, but the twin is something that they have a private LLM that ingests all my data, and people can actually go in and chat with me. And
Love
my
that.
AI twin will answer and be able to give them guidance, all based on, I go in and I like look at the conversations afterwards and I'm like, wow, that's really impressive. That's something I
Yeah.
totally would have said.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny. That's exactly what I was going to ask, because I know you can't work with everybody, but there has to be a component where you can train a Donna GPT for them to at least get part of
Yeah.
the way there to where they go, okay, well now I could just have Donna look at what they've created with your GPT and get at the end, and then have you bless it, right? And I
Yeah.
feel like there's a way in which you can expand your reach, because what you've built is amazing, and I feel like it's very lacking, because I have been around so many founders and CEOs that don't know how to tell a story to save their life, and they need to interact with someone like you.
Yeah, well, thank you, and send them my way. I'm happy
Yeah.
to. It's one of the greatest joys of my life is helping people crack that story wide open and seeing that sense of like relief and exhilaration when it's out there and when they finally are able to tell it. It's beautiful. It really
Yeah.
is, because we do all have a story to tell, whether it's a big story or whether it's a story of a product or a feature we're working on.
Right. Right. No doubt about it. I love it. And so as you look down the horizon, right? And like maybe the next 12 to 18 months, I don't think anybody can look past that, because things are changing so fast.
So fast.
But what do you see for your brand? But also, what do you see for your clients as they go forward?
Okay. Well, I'll start with the latter. One thing I always tell my clients is we cannot ignore AI. It's not going anywhere. So you need to either, if you're an AI company, obviously you're talking about it, but you need to show your
Right.
true moat technologically, what will make you an enduring company no matter what OpenAI or Google or Apple or any of the big ones are putting out. And what's your AI strategy as you
Right.
move forward? And we need to make sure that that's incorporated and that's clear. Are you infrastructure? Are you app? Are you an enabler? Where are you on that mapping? For myself, so it's using more and more of like the outsourcing to AI. So now it's like get your deck checked. People can interact now with my AI twin while they're prepping and ask questions and be like, is this what would you say should be on the go to market side? We have a bunch of different things. And then I'm asleep, but my AI twin will answer while they're working on this.
I love the AI twin.
Yep.
It's phenomenal. And so you're obviously on the leading edge and embracing this, like some of the best people that I know that are doing the same, and excited about it. How do you get the people when they answer not the way you want on what's their AI strategy, right? Are you trying to convince them, or are you just kind of working with the people that embrace it more?
I think that in startups, everyone is smart enough to know that if you're not an early adopter of technologies as a technology company, then, you're in trouble.
Right.
So I don't usually encounter a lot of resistance because most of the companies I'm working with are using AI for X, AI
Right.
for Y, AI for Z, and just explaining how this is going to make it better. So the person that referred the client from this morning with the regulatory space, they are working on an AI that helps radiologists. He and his wife are both radiologists. His wife would come home from a 6-8 hour shift having to look at hundreds of thousands of images. And the human eye, how much you could be the best radiologist in the world, there's fatigue.
Yeah.
And things get missed and things are misdiagnosed and things are overlooked. Why not utilize AI to be that all-seeing eye and
Right.
pointing out the important parts, like here's what you should be looking at as the expert. Here's something that, and pointing it out. So instead of looking at 100,000 images, you're looking at maybe 10.
Yeah, right. The ones that have maybe a little discrepancy, and AI is like, hey, I think it's this, and we need to, let's triple check this one, right?
Yeah.
But it probably gets 95% of it right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know you're doing the medical, but talk to us about a few of the other types of industries that you're got your hands in.
So my husband, we met, he hired me, and then we got married not too long after that. And the running joke is that that's the longest retainer I've ever had. And he's one of my most challenging clients because he does not like working on the messaging again. I do it. He's in the space of AI and entertainment. So enabling IP, celebrity, influencer, sports, IP, images, voices to be
Wow.
incorporated into AI creations in an ethical and legal way that's fast, not a bunch of negotiations and contracts. So that and there's a lot of fear in the entertainment space about AI stealing your IP. But instead, why not say, okay, if AI is going to be using my IP, why shouldn't I be making more money from that? And this
It
is
should,
exactly what
right?
he's enabling. So it's
Right.
like the same way of like, okay, if you can't beat them, make sure you're making money from them.
Right.
So AI is here to stay. People are going to do it, whether it's legal or not. Trying to take down things is going to take time. By that time, they'll have taken it down and put up 10 other things.
Huh.
So you might as
Yeah.
well get on board. You might as
Yes.
well do it in a way that is engaging and increases engagement with fans.
Right.
It's
It's a branding exercise for sure, and a marketing exercise for that entertainer, influencer, athlete. Anyway,
next level. It's
Right.
next level of sports engagement. They
Right.
did a launch with Chicago Bulls where people could take a selfie of themselves, scan a QR code, put it up, and get back a little video with Ben the Bull, Chicago
Right.
Bulls, a mascot.
That's awesome.
And he pouring popcorn on their head, which is what his thing is. And it's the coolest thing ever. And people get so excited. The share rates, the virality was off the charts because people are
Brilliant.
excited about this.
Right.
And what incredible exposure that is for both the Bulls and for their sponsor that they're
Yes.
paying for this. So this is a whole other degree of engagement. Nobody wants to see ads. Nobody
Right.
wants to watch just boring videos. Nobody wants,
Right.
this is like, ooh, they're part of it. This is exciting.
Heck
And that's going to
yeah.
have to be innovated on as
Yes.
well as our
Yeah.
threshold goes up.
It's funny. I read a story the other day about the evolution of music, right? And where we were buying albums and then CDs, which were just a different version of the
Don't
album.
forget cassettes. I was the mixtape.
I know.
queen.
I was with the cassettes too. But then, if you think about it, then we went to where we had the iPod and it was 99 cents a song. And then we went to streaming, right? So that whole industry has gone through this. And if you think about it, that's what images, what you just talked to about with your husband, that's exactly what's happening with that. But
Images
in a
and
good
voice
way, if
and
you
voice.
think about it.
Yeah. It's a good way if you look at it in like, okay, great. How can this be done? I don't want my image used for porn. I don't want my image used for cigarettes. I don't want my image used for anything that's
as long as there's rules around it. Yeah.
Nike is my sponsor. I don't want to be used for an Adidas commercial, like anything like that. You can set the terms and then let the magic just happen.
Yes.
And know that you're protected. And then if there's some kind of big, huge, amazing offer, that'll be negotiated. You'll get an alert.
As things get more and more digitized, as we get AI coming in, I think that you're going to see more products and services that there's all kinds of different ways they'll be disrupted in similar ways and where we get things out. I mean, I would have never thought we would have had video where it is today. But I can't even think what the next evolution is going to be. So to your point, it's what do people want to consume for engagement? And I think this goes back, and I bring it full circle to storytelling. Storytelling to me is all about engagement. And I think the future of everything online is about authenticity and engagement. And I think that the way in which you're doing the storytelling framework really brings that all full circle. So I don't know if you see it that way, but to me, that's really a big component.
Well, it's funny because when I wrote my book, I handed in the first draft October 2022, which is the same
month before ChatGPT went online.
Actually, it was like just a couple weeks before. And then, so I wrote the last chapter, which is called The Future of Storytelling for Startups. I wrote it with Jasper, which then was the go-to content generator. And I had to use, I didn't even know what a prompt was. I had to use a bunch of different questions, piece them together. And then out came OpenAI. And there's this whole chat about this GPT-3 and all this. And I was like, I said to my editor, I'd better rewrite this with ChatGPT, I have a feeling that this is going to be the thing.
A
And
thing.
he's like, I have a feeling you're right.
Yeah.
And I asked, what would be the role and what would be the difference, and is it going to, how does it affect the future of storytelling for startups and pitch decks? So the answer was, on the one hand, AI technology has potential to help startups create better pitch decks in several ways. AI-powered natural language processing tools to identify and highlight key information and insight. AI-powered text generation technology. He isn't even talking about visuals yet.
Right.
Optimize the layout and design of pitch decks using machine learning algorithms, a greater emphasis on using technology to create immersive and engaging experiences. But having said all that, creating a successful investor deck is a complex task that involves more than just generating text. It also involves understanding the needs and goals of the investors, creating a compelling narrative, and presenting information in a clear and concise manner. So this is all stuff that ChatGPT wrote. And I was like, wow, okay. So it's like not going to take over my job tomorrow. And today, in discussing this with my Jarvis, it's a collaboration.
Yeah.
It's a collaboration. It's a soundboard. Everybody needs a soundboard. Everybody needs someone that can match them on the intellectual level of volleying an idea back and forth, of getting feedback, of seeing what's working, what else could work. Loaded systems. We need help.
Yes, absolutely. And I feel like your Jarvis, I've heard it called 4 different things so far, right? You call it the sidekick. I've heard people call it a digital coworker, a co-pilot, and a wingman. And I love all those terms because I think it goes back to what you said. They're a collaboration between a great human, right? Whether you're an employee, you're an entrepreneur, you're a consultant, you're a content creator, doesn't matter. When you have a good match with your AI counterpart, you can do amazing things. And I think that that's the that takeaway that everybody should be thinking about.
And you can make that happen. I'm building a course now with Jarvis that we're going to co-teach that about AI in the age of storytelling. And part of what we're going to teach is how, I said to him, can we teach people how I made you my own personal assistant? And he's like, yes. And here's what you did. And he like broke it down into the different steps that I didn't even realize I was just doing this
right? Right.
But this was something that I was experimenting with that now I can teach other people to help with their storytelling and utilizing AI and not just generic responses and using it for restaurant recommendations. Even half the list might not even exist. Sometimes there's like a restaurant there. I'm like, oh, I want to try it. It doesn't exist.
I love it. I love it. It's phenomenal. Donna, you have been an absolute pleasure. You have, honestly, I'm so excited. I told you that I have 2 partners in a new venture, and we're developing something. And I think that we're going to need to talk to you about storytelling because and and honestly, you know what's the greatest thing is from this podcast, I've gotten so many ideas by talking to so many smart people that are playing with AI in different ways that the idea came out of this. And one of my partners had said, you know what, we should build that. And we looked it up and guess what? There's not even a category for it, which is really cool, right? And I think that that's what's going to happen. I think that there's things out there that people aren't even thinking about. And the more we talk and collaborate, the more the ideas are going to come.
I agree. I agree. And I think
they all need storytelling.
Yeah. And people are afraid of will they be laid off? Will they not have a job? Will they not be needed? And these are all things that there will be new opportunities. There will be no creativity. I think we're going to see a lot more entrepreneurs with services, with products, with solutions. And it's time for us to really tap into that creativity.
I fully agree. Amen to that. Amen to that. Well, thank you for spending this time with us. I am so excited. We're going to have links to your book. We're going to have links to your DeckCheck to check your AI agent for pitch decks. And obviously, we're going to have links to engage with you personally because I think everybody needs what you have. And
thank you so much.
We are just so thankful that you spent some time with us. And I think our audience is going to love this. So thank you.
Have a great one.
Yes. And that wraps up this episode of Future Proof, where we always say automate everything in your business. It doesn't matter, but future proof what does. Thank you, Donna.
If you're ready to embrace change and lead with innovation, be sure to subscribe and never miss an episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Future Proof Podcast.